Welcome to the West Ham Voice. The new studio is more or less ready, up and running, so I can start producing a few more videos on a regular basis now, and looking forward to starting to do some live shows again. So look out for those. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not going to promise, but maybe if I've got the time, Monday night will be the return of the West Ham Weekly this coming Monday. So do look out for that. Normally, for those of you who are new viewers, it normally goes out about 9 o'clock in the evening. And for your existing viewers, you know what time to expect me on. When I say 9 o'clock, I meant 9:15, of course. And if I say 9:15, I meant 9:30. Look, I hope you've all had an excellent Christmas and are now working on losing the pounds after overindulging, as we all do at this time of year. And if you're new to the West Ham Voice, if it's the first time you're watching the channel, or if you've watched me before but yet to become a subscriber, if you enjoy the content, then please do hit the like button that's below the video on YouTube, and to show your appreciation of the content. And also, if you do enjoy the content and you want to become a subscriber of the channel, a QR code has appeared in the top corner here. All you've got to do is click on that QR code. It takes you straight to the subscription page. Subscription is free of charge for general content. Nothing to pay to become a subscriber. You can also help to promote the channel by clicking on the hype button after the video as well, which is again below the video on YouTube. Now, hype means that it allows other people on YouTube to watch the video too. So you're kind of promoting it for me. Now, finally, if you're feeling very generous, you can become a member of the West Ham Voice, where for £1.99 a month, you can get additional short content, and all the money raised goes to Prostate Cancer UK. And to date, myself and the members have raised £490 for that good cause. So thank you for that. Right. So what are we going to talk about today? Well, today is really a reflection, not only on the Fulham game, but on Nuno's tenure so far at West Ham. I'm going to cover the obvious stuff, things like his decision-making, the striker selection choice, his decision-making on substitutions, as well as the style of football that we're currently playing. Now, there are a number of lessons that we have learned from the defeat against Fulham on Saturday, but regrettably, not all those lessons are good ones. How many times have we said so far this season that under Nuno, we kind of look a better side, we're kind of playing better football, but being better in that respect isn't giving us the points that we need for Premier League survival. Since Nuno's arrival, on the whole, excuse me, lost my script there. Since Nuno's arrival, on the whole, we've been playing better football, but we can't buy a win. Nuno, as it stands, now has the worst win record of all Premier League managers for West Ham. That includes Avram Grant and Graham Potter. Sure, we may be a little more pleasing to the eye in terms of the style of football that we're playing, but it's not giving us the wins that we need to stay in the Premier League. And maybe that's the first thing that we can take from this and most games under Nuno, apart from the defeats to Liverpool and Man City, where we kind of roll over and had our bellies tickled. I don't think we've actually played that badly under Nuno so far. Nuno's tactics, however, are questionable. Yet again, not starting with a striker is causing much irritation amongst the fan base, and rightly so. And we've got to ask ourselves, why is it that Callum Wilson can't get in the starting lineup? Look, I guess Nuno is trying to balance Wilson, 32, 33 years of age, injury, he's got a history of injuries that have seen him sidelined for quite a while. But, and also maybe Nuno's thinking about the busy schedule that's coming up and trying to preserve Wilson for some important minutes in each game. I get all that, but when he has started in games, especially against his former club, against Bournemouth, we saw how good and positive Wilson can be to the team. Every time he's come on, he's changed the dynamics of the team. He's given us some impetus, something different up front. So Nuno must see that himself, and Nuno must be asking himself, surely, if Wilson came on against Bournemouth, he scored 2 goals, he was on his hat-trick, he got taken off really early, that changed the course of the game. Not for the better, because we kind of dropped 2 points there. But also, when he brings him on, you can see what an effect he has on the team or around him. You know, he has an impact. So I don't understand why Nuno is trying to preserve him, because preserving him, unfortunately, is not doing us any favors. Now, you could argue that Nuno wants to bulk up the midfield, and I get that. You know, maybe he thinks that that's where you know, we're going to get our goals from. But unfortunately, we're not. That's not happening either. Look, this story's also come out on Claret and Hugh. Apparently, even the senior source has suggested that you know, Nuno's not listening, and you know, even though they have discussions about players, etc., Nuno's his own man. Now, look, I don't want the senior source or anybody else to tell Nuno what to do. Nuno is his own man. He should be making his decisions. But when you start thinking about, you know, everyone is talking about why Wilson's not starting. You know, Wiggy and Pete in the post-match video that we did after the game yesterday mentioned the same thing. You know, I've talked about it. I know some other content providers have talked about it. And even now, apparently, the senior source is asking the questions. You've got to ask yourself, what is it that Nuno's not seeing that we all are begging for? Look, I get it about Wilson. I get that he's at the age where he, you know, maybe can't deliver a whole game, and he does need to be sort of looked after. But in home games, when we're starting at home against the likes of teams like Fulham, should we not be expecting Wilson to be starting? I don't know. It's an odd one, but and it's one that's impacting on us quite severely. Now, like I said, Nuno, you know, his game plan seems to be that he packs out the midfield and hopes that the goals are going to come from there. But it's all very well if our midfielders were firing on all cylinders, but they're not. You know, when you have the likes of Crescencio Somerville, for example, who got subbed early on in the second half for Wilson to come on, you know, he's not delivered. Now, Somerville went straight down the tunnel after being subbed. Now, that suggests one of two things. Either he needed some treatment for a knock, or maybe, or he was upset at being subbed. Now, I can't honestly remember whether Somerville was on the pitch at the end of the game, you know, coming on at the end of the game or not. But I'm sure the viewers will tell me one way or another. But Somerville is not delivering, hasn't been delivering for some time. Sure, he was injured for a long time, but he's now fully match fit. So we're kind of hoping and expecting more from him. He's got, you know, good pace about him, but no end product at the moment. But he's not the only player that's not delivering from midfield. You could argue that Jared Bowen is also not doing too well at the moment. You know, he's not firing on all cylinders. You know, and I've mentioned before, perhaps the responsibility of captaincy, especially being captain in a team that's deep in a relegation battle, is just not suited for him. Look, there's been a couple of criticisms of Bowen and his captaincy so far this season. We saw it in his lack of leadership when he should have intervened, when Lucas Paqueta got sent off against Liverpool for dissent. And he most certainly should have done more in putting his arm around Ollie Scholes for the error that he made against Fulham, which led to their winning goal. Look, I would honestly do Bowen a massive favour and take the armband from him. Now, I know some people have suggested, well, that's going to make it even worse for him. I'm not so sure. If you take the armband from him and explain to him, look, I want you to focus on your football. I want you to just concentrate for the rest of this season on your football. Don't worry about the captaincy. We'll give that to someone else to take that responsibility. I think maybe that might, you know, Bowen might turn around and go, thank God for that, you know, so I can focus on my football, because he's not delivering. Let's focus for a moment on Ollie Scholes. Sure, the error was indeed costly against Fulham. You know, it led to the goal. It led to the winning goal. But I don't want to be harsh on the player, but that wasn't the first mistake that he made in the game against Fulham. He made a few mistakes and he kind of got away with it throughout the game. But the last mistake was the most costliest. He didn't get away with it. But in all fairness to the young lad, I think he put in a good shift. Now, I've got to be honest, I am questioning whether Ollie Scholes is a regular first-team Premier League footballer, or whether he's better coming on from the bench. I think maybe the latter. I'm not so sure at the moment he's quite ready to be playing 90 minutes and deliver. But in all honesty, we shouldn't have been in the position that we were in on the 85th minute. In fact, we should have. There were several chances that we had which should have put us ahead. You know, so that wouldn't have made, you know, yes, it would have made a difference, but you know, we should have been winning this game against Fulham because we had our chances and we just didn't take them. Look, another player that I've mentioned quite a few times before is Lucas Paqueta. Again, another player that's not delivering. I've lost count at the number of times I've talked about Paqueta losing possession of the ball, and giving the ball away in dangerous positions. When we think about Ollie Scholes having given the ball away or not clearing the ball, which led to the Fulham goal, how many times have we talked about that, about Lucas Paqueta not, doing too many touches, wanting too many touches. In fact, for the kind of football that Nuno wants to play, the counter-attacking, fast-paced football, Paqueta doesn't suit that style. Paqueta wants to take the ball. He wants to, nurture it. He wants to sort of touch it several times before he passes it on, etc. How many times do we see him in vulnerable positions where, the minute he's got the ball, he's got 2, 3, 4 players around him to nick the ball off him? The opposition knows what they have to do in order to get the ball from him. They know if they crowd him out, he's gonna lose the ball. So there's that as well. So we've got this game, the defeat against Fulham, and the results that we've gotten so far in the Premier Leagues aren't just down to one or two players. Individual errors are causing us to lose points. That's without a doubt. But we're not taking our chances. Our front men, our attacking players, are not taking the chances. And then that goes back to Callum Wilson. Well, if we're not taking the chances, you need a natural goal scorer on the pitch to put those chances away. And that's fair comment. And Nuno, when you think about, Nuno must be seeing this. He must know that in order to score, we can't go out and keep trying to defend 0-0s or trying to defend draws, etc. Nuno must realize that we need to have players on the pitch that are going to score goals. And Wilson has demonstrated that. Like I said earlier, he demonstrated that against Bournemouth, and I don't understand why Nuno just doesn't start him. If he can only do 45 minutes, then maybe having those 45 minutes of the start of the game might cause enough damage to the opposition for Nuno to turn around and go, right, I'll defend the second half. Maybe we'll be 2 goals up or whatever. But it's not happening. It's happening the reverse. Look, so our attacking players are letting us down. Nuno's tactics is kind of letting us down a little bit as well. Now, many fans also question about Nuno's substitutions, and they question why Magassa was substituted in the game. And it was evident that Nuno needed to do something in order to change the shape of the game. But why Magassa? Now, it's been suggested that Magassa was feeling his hamstring. I don't know if that's true or not, but some viewers suggested that he was feeling his hamstring throughout the game, and maybe he was taken off as a precaution. If that's the case, then absolutely perfect choice to take a player out of the firing line, so in case they get any further injuries. But Magassa has proven to be what formidable midfielder he is. He's the engine. Him and Fernandes and Potts. You've got to praise them. If there's anything that's going really well at the moment, you've got to praise our 3 young midfielders in Potts, Magassa, and Fernandes for the effort that they're putting in. They're being let down in a way by our attacking players, because they're doing the dirty work and getting the ball, closing the opposition down, etc. And then what you expect our attacking players to just go and attack. Now, maybe, Magassa came off, Souček came on, which further slowed the game down. And we know, we love Souček. I'm a big fan of Souček. I have been over the years, but we know that the minute Souček comes on, if you're not going to play direct football, you're going to start losing pace in midfield. And that's exactly what happened. It afforded Fulham more time in midfield. Perhaps the better option would have been maybe bringing on young Mohamedou Kante for Magassa in order to keep that momentum in midfield. So that's another, like I've said, with the Wilson conundrum, the misfiring of our attacking players, the questionable substitutions, and the massive dose of bad luck as well. Things aren't going right for West Ham United or for Nuno. Now, when a team is near the bottom of the league, either decisions or the state of play doesn't. When decisions don't go our way, when the state of play doesn't go our way, we kind of expect the experienced players to show up. I can understand maybe why Souček came on, but it wasn't right. It wasn't right. But we simply can't buy a win at this moment in time. The Fulham game was the first in 4 games in a row that we were hoping we were going to get positive result from, with Brighton coming up, Wolves and Nottingham Forest as well. If we'd have got, I don't know, 3 or 4 wins out of those games, that would have set us in good stead. But instead, we failed at the first hurdle. And now we have a Brighton team who've proved to be one of our many bogey teams in the Premier League coming up next. Can we beat them? Well, I don't see why not. But Nuno has got to maybe tinker a little bit. You know, talk about Leeds United and how they've moved away from the bottom, and that's because Fark, their manager Daniel Fark, has made a few changes, just a few tweaks in order to get them firing. And Nuno needs to do the same thing. I can see for the game against Brighton that Somerville will be the fall guy. I think Somerville will be dropped from the starting lineup in order to afford Wilson to start up front. I do, and I don't mind that. You know, if it were me, I would keep Somerville in the lineup for his pace and his creativity. And for me, I would drop Paqueta without a shadow of a doubt. But we know Nuno has made a rod for his own back. He's not going to drop Lucas Paqueta, you know, because he's bigged up the Brazilian maverick, and there's no way now he's going to change that. Nuno won't drop him. Somerville, I think, will be the one that will be dropped. Wilson will start on Tuesday night. I'm pretty much convinced of that. If he doesn't, even more questions will be asked. Look, we've got 20 games to go in the Premier League. It might be our last 20 Premier League games for quite a long time, because if we do go down, I can't see us coming back up straight away. Look, in order to get the magical 40 points, if that's what we need to stay up, we've got to win 9 of those 20, almost half. I really want to be confident. You know me, I'm always the eternal optimist, the glass half full man. But even I have started to check what stadiums we might be visiting in the Championship next season.